Hello YouTube, this is Asiel Baez, and I'm here with Thewitchesvoice. I am your Friday night host, and we are doing this week's topic, which is spiritual manifestations. So my video is coming out on a Sunday because this Friday that just passed, I've been too busy and I just wasn't able to get my video ready and uploaded, and yesterday, Saturday, I wasn't able to get it up either. So I'm getting it up today for this week. The topic of this week, like I said, is spiritual manifestations. A spiritual manifestation is when the veil between the physical world and the spiritual world becomes thin, and thus you are able to see with your physical eyes something that is in another dimension or in another plane of existence. When the entities and spirits and beings who live in the astral realm are just as real as we are, mind you, remember that the physical world is considered to be an illusion of the mind, and the astral world a more realistic perception. Anyways, when these entities choose to show themselves, they tend to, or what's normally explained is that they tend to get the vibration of their bodies, the vibration of the atoms of their bodies tends to become faster, thus they solidify more, and then they become visible to us who are in a physical body. This is anywhere from deities to spirits to entities that live in the astral realm, like fairies, dragons, and unicorns, and all those things. I'm a firm believer that all these things exist. They're just not in our realm. They're in the astral realm. They can travel through and from as from each realm as they desire, because they have that capacity, whereas we as humans tend to have the capacity of travel through astral projection and shamanic journeys and things like that. Anyways, spiritual manifestations. I have personally seen a few, and I'm hoping that as the years pass in my life, I get to see quite a few more. Now, usually when you are a child, spiritual manifestations are a lot easier. A child carries with them a very big innocence, a naiveness that we as adults have kind of removed from ourselves, and we become so caught up in our own world and our own life that we tend to forget the inner world and the inner life. And whereas a child tends to be more focused in the inner world, which is what we tend to call imagination. Anyways, as children tend to be able to see a lot more things than grown-ups do. As a child, I remember seeing quite a few spirits that later on I confirmed with my grandmother and with my cousins, who were the spirits that I saw. As a child, being raised in Cuba, where there is a lot of Santeria and a lot of Espiritismo and a lot of things going on, just about every Cuban that you speak with will have some sort of story to tell you about something that they saw, something that they experienced, or somewhere that they went and something happened. It's very typical of Cubans to have mystical stories of things that they have seen or perceived or that has happened to them. Anyways, there's a difference between physical manifestation, there's a difference between perception, spiritual perception, and embodiment. Physical manifestation is when an entity, which tends to be the less occurring one, an entity chooses to show itself to you in a physical way. So the way that you see me, or the way that you're seeing yourself and your friends and your family as flesh and bone, or flesh and blood, or whatever, that tends to be a lot less common, but it does happen. There is stories of people who do that, and I'm sure there will be more stories of people who have seen that, and people that will come out later on also. That takes a lot of energy from the entity, so they usually normally don't tend to manifest in a physical form. However, perception manifestation is what usually tends to happen a lot of the times. Perception is inside of your mind. A lot of people doubt themselves, and a lot of people doubt themselves because they don't believe that what is in their mind is real. They only believe that what's outside in the physical world, what they can touch, is real. Whereas science has already declared, and it's already finding out even more, that there's no such thing as the outer world. There's only the inner world, and the outer world is a projection of the inner world. And it's something that the ancients have been teaching from millennia. But anyways, a spiritual perception is when you're perceiving the entity within your mind. So, and that tends to be a lot of times the cases of people, that the entity shows up in your mind, and it is a very intense feeling. It is a feeling of, it's a thought that pops in. It's a sensation that pops into your mind that you just simply know. And usually the entity will start interacting with you, hopefully in some sort of way. And that also comes in very strong thoughts that when they happens to you, you can tell that the thoughts. So spiritual perception manifests as very strong thoughts in your mind. Once again, my battery depleted, so I have to restart the video. Anyways, the spiritual manifestation or the spiritual perception is usually harder because we tend to doubt ourselves. As a psychic, as a spiritual practitioner, you need to learn not to doubt yourself. And not doubting yourself means saying and speaking things as they pop into your mind when you pick up that the thought is obviously not yours. And that's what usually happens, that a lot of people see something or they perceive something, and then they're too afraid of saying, hey, I'm seeing this or I'm perceiving this, because they think that they're going to sound crazy. And sometimes you do, sometimes we all do, we may sound a little cray-cray, but for the most part, it'll make sense when you're saying something to someone in the room or to yourself. It'll when a spiritual perception comes in strongly, you should never doubt yourself. Anyways, obviously, I have seen and perceived and heard many spirits. I have been in many seances and many rituals and many things in which spirits have shown up, in which spirits have taken over the bodies. And that's another manifestation that I want to speak with you guys, which is possession. Possession is a manifestation of the spirit. That is when an entity takes over the physical body of another being. This is usually a willing human, and this usually tends to happen in controlled environments, like a seance or some sort of ritual or ceremony or something like that. The entity can be anywhere from a spirit, an elemental, something that has never been human, all the way to a deity. In Orisha, as many of you know or might know, we have Orisha possessions in which the Orisha comes down and takes over the person. And this tends to happen a lot in initiation ceremonies and in drummings and in widows and in all sorts of events that the Orishas are being called down. And that is something desirable. You want the Orisha to come down and manifest through the body of a priest or a priestess, so then the Orisha can interact with the physical world and the other priests and priestesses and the believers of the religion. So that's another physical manifestation. I have, like I said, when I was a child, I saw many spirits physically. As I've gotten older, I have stopped seeing a lot of spirits physically. It's become more rare when I've seen a spirit physically, but I've picked up a lot more mental perception of spirits and the astral realms, which I've also become a lot more confident. That's another thing, that as my years of initiation have grown and my practice with people has grown, I've become a lot more confident into saying things that I see or I perceive. And just like I've become a lot more confident about telling someone, listen, I don't see anything. And that's another big thing of the manifestation that you're taught, especially in Lukumi. It's when you don't see anything, when nothing manifests to you, that is okay. Sometimes you are just simply too tired, or you're too focused on something else, so you don't allow those little subtle thoughts to really kick in, and for you to pay attention to those. And those are usually the strongest messages. So if one day you don't see anything, if you're at a seance and you don't see anything, that is totally okay and acceptable. I'm the type of person that when I go somewhere, if I'm not feeling anything, I will just bluntly say it. I'll be like, hey, guys, I'm not seeing anything today. I don't know what's up. I'm off. And that is just how I am. There's other people that feel like they have to talk and they have to say things, or that they're seeing manifestations, and I feel like that that shouldn't happen. If you don't see anything, just say it. You don't see anything, and another day, when you do see something, then you say that you do see something. I will tell you guys this little story which gave me confidence into saying things of spiritual manifestations. So I was at a seance once. This is a few years ago. By a few years, I mean a good 5 or 6. I was at a seance once, and since the seance started, I was seeing this particular entity in my mind, but I thought that the entity just looked silly, and I was like, I don't want to describe this that I'm seeing, so I didn't say anything. Halfway through the seance, there's a guy who gets mounted with one of his spirits, one of his main spirits, one of his main spirit guides took over him, and the spirit went around talking to everybody present and whatnot. When the spirit got to me, the spirit said, you have been seeing something since the misa, since the seance started, and you haven't said it. You need to learn how to say things and be confident in what you see. Even if you see a piece of crab dangling from a thread, you have to say this. Say it and always trust yourself. So those words were the actual words of the spirit mounting this person. And when he said that to me, I reassured him that yes, I had seen something and whatnot. And after the spirit had left, I finally said what I had been seeing. And one of my other friends also jumped up that he himself has also been seeing. So then we shared information about both of our perception, and all of the information completely matched. We were seeing the same exact thing, and we both felt like we were going to sound like fools if we were to say what we were seeing at that point. So that became to me a very conscious and clear message from the spirits and from the spirit world, that whenever you see and perceive something, you just have to say, you have to go with your gut, you have to go with your inner feelings and just verbalize it. I have seen orishas that have come to me in dreams, besides orishas coming to me and speak to me in processions. An entity that has shown up, and this is a little weird. Some of you might find this a little weird. I really don't. But an entity that has shown up itself to me often has been Saint Michael the Archangel. A lot of pagans and witches and New Agers and spiritual people overall like to work with the archangels. Saint Michael kind of just showed up one day in my house, and I knew that I wasn't making it up because of the actions of my dog. That she was very, very hyper, and the minute that Saint Michael showed up into my room, she just quiet down, and it was such a weird and intense experience. And when I got to share with a few other people, they were like, I cannot believe that this happened. But anyways, Saint Michael is definitely one that has shown up to me several times. I'm gonna say right now, as of this recording, St. Michael has shown up to me about a good 3 to 4 times. Another entity that has shown up to me many times has been Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva usually has shown up to me in dreams, and it hasn't been like, dreams with Lord Shiva have never been like, you know, I'm somewhere and, you know, there's this thing of Lord Shiva and whatever. No, like dreams with Lord Shiva have been like, I'm in a temple worshipping and calling him, and he has manifested out of the lingam. He has turned himself into a lingam. I have been in the back of a house with someone doing worship to lingam. Lord Shiva's manifestations in dreams have been intense, and I've had a good 5 to 8 dreams so far as of this recording with Lord Shiva that have been very intense. And some of those dreams were a mystery to me until years later, that I learned certain things about Hinduism and certain things about Lord Shiva's worship, that then I was like, holy crap, this is exactly what I was dreaming about back then, that I didn't understand why I was doing this. And then later on it showed up. So that was another, those little things have been solidifications of my personal beliefs, or proofs of my personal beliefs and the things that I have been perceiving, which to me is another way of showing that the manifestation of the physical world and the manifestation of the spiritual world are both to be very carefully examined by each and every individual. Anyways, my personal belief is, when something manifests to you, follow your gut, follow your inner instincts, don't doubt yourself, let it be, and always see how you feel. Obviously, if it's a spirit and the spirit is making you feel shitty, then you might want to banish the spirit or disregard the spirit or send it on its way. When it's something helpful and that it makes you feel good, or some sort of entity, especially if it's an entity that you yourself work with, you should follow your gut. You should take a few seconds, interact with this entity, and go ahead and see what advices and things they might have to tell you. I feel like as you open yourself up more to the spiritual realm tends to open itself up more to you. I am someone who spends 90 to 95% of my time is spent doing some sort of religious or spiritual something. So I have just simply grown to accept that the inner and the outer and the whatever exists is there, and I'm here, and I'm part of it, and it is part of me. And whenever it chooses to interact with me, I just don't doubt myself. I just simply interact with whatever entity the same way that I interact with any human, physical or non-physical, and with its manifestation being physical or non-physical. You just gotta stop. If you really believe in these things, in what we call New Age or spirituality and things like that, you gotta stop doubting yourself and doubting your mind, so that the manifestations become a lot stronger in yourself and your being, and you become a lot more trustworthy of the manifestation and of your own mind and what you are seeing and perceiving at that particular point. Anyways, thank you so much for watching me, you guys. If you need to get a hold of me on Facebook, look up Asiel Baez. On YouTube, my personal channel is asieloshunyeyeo. And here, this is Thewitchesvoice. And also you can find me online in my online store, Sweet Onyi Designs, which is through Facebook, so you can find me there too. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and I will see you guys in the next video. Ache, 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 do. Bye, you guys.